hold up, it's still sequel season, but we're talking about Mario Kart? 64 technically is the second Mario Kart. Would you rather I talk about something else? I guess so. Donkey Kong Country looks phenomenal on the Super Nintendo. Wait, not what I meant. The game utilized pre-rendered 3D graphics in order to create beautifully animated 2D pixelated still frame sprites and get around the system limitations of the time. I guess we're doing this. This ambitious graphical move set the game far beyond the competition and is a large factor in fan nostalgia today, unlike its N64 cousin Donkey Kong 64, which visually aged like fish, opting for primitive 3D models and animations. Should I change the whiteboard? However, another visually impressive SNES title made the opposite move when leaping to the N64 and taking full advantage of pre-rendered 3D technology in order to enhance the game's visuals across its many 3D environments. And that game was Mario Kart. Hold up, you were talking about Mario Kart this whole time? That's the secret. Everything is about Mario Kart. I feel like I just got ghosted. Like an old boo switcheroo. Yes, we're talking about Mario Kart! My first memories with this game were neighbors or relatives either not giving me a turn or explaining how the controls work so I would lose. And you all wonder why I'm such a crusty, bitter curmudgeon? So when the Wii Shop finally let me own the game, I played the heck out of it, and it was just as fun as the fun I wished I was having as a kid. Why was every kid I was stuck with growing up a belligerent, spoiled brat? Hopefully life threw them all a blue shell and they plummeted to a life of discount microwave meals while working Walmart customer service. Who's in last place now? Everything comes back to Mario Kart. Well, we never covered the original, so here we are explaining how Mario Kart works for the first time. After selecting one of 8 racers, you race against the rest of the cast, with up to 3 other players via split screen. There are 4 cups with 4 races each, awarding points based on how well you played, totaling at the end for a final score to determine the winner. There's also 3 speeds to choose from, acting as a difficulty, as well as a mirror mode to screw with your brain as all the courses are flipped for an extra challenge. 64 also brings back time trials, versus modes, and my favorite, the battle modes, allowing for some crazy 4-player chaos where the goal is to pop the other player's 3 balloons with items before you lose all your own and turn into a sentient bomb ghost hazard, keeping early losers in the game in a fun way. Oh crap, items! That's practically what defines Mario Kart, and the entire kart racing genre of shameless knockoffs, of which there's an increasingly disturbing amount. While racing, you'll encounter item boxes, which will grant you one semi-randomized item based on your current place in the race or standing in a battle, helping out those struggling in particular with powerful chaotic abilities to help swing the tide in their favor and keep the game interesting. This fun party system adds loads of enjoyment and random chaos to the game, while also auto-balancing races, preventing anyone from getting hopelessly too far ahead or behind. It's always anyone's race. Especially when the AI's ridiculous rubber banding kicks in, but let's not go there. Different racers even have different weights, acceleration, top speed, and handle uniquely, so it's not simply for aesthetics. You actually get to choose your own racing style with the characters. It's good fun and all, but you're probably better off playing more recent installments. What do you mean? All Mario Karts are great! Well, if you're into N64 racing gameplay, Diddy Kong Racing is the better pick. What? Tell Donkey Kong this is not his video! You thought everything was Mario Kart when everything was Donkey Kong all along. I kind of covered this with my totally relevant Donkey Kong analogy, so let's consider the graphics. Okay. But the N64 is doing a great job at running fast-paced 3D action by use of its pre-rendered sprites that give the game its lasting character. There's a reason people love the art of Castlevania Symphony of the Night and loathe Castlevania 64. That was relevant, don't look at me like that. I'm sure you meant to say people love the art of Donkey Kong Country and loathe the early motion capture TV show abomination. Donkey Kong! Hey, yo, look out down below. Here comes Banana Slammer. Oh God! Banana Slammer! Donkey Kong! There's more story in the Donkey Kong arcade. This is not about Donkey Kong! Fine, Mario goes go-kart racing with his friends, family, and an evil turtle monster. Come on, there's more characters than that. You're right. Yeah, you totally forgot Wario. There's some great tracks for the game's tracks. Yeah, the music and sound effects, including voice clips, really bring the colorful Mario-themed races to life, especially when compared to the already great Super Nintendo original. The Choco Mountain theme is almost always stuck in my head. Seriously, can anybody help me with that? Because the background music to your life is in morbid contrast to the fact that it's all a joke at your own expense. Da 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 da. Yeah! Mario Kart is a great time with friends or alone, like these pitiful clips of Hamster in 2008.
The cows shouldn't all be ganging up at Moo Moo Farm watching you. They should all be ganging up at Moo Moo Steakhouse. And then this friggin' huge Cheep Cheep appears over your head and starts barfing out your trophy. Then we come to Frap Snowland. It's like saying dog cat. Now what's gonna happen if you run into a snowman with a go-kart? Nothing, right? Oh, wrong. You go flying through the air! And then you get a concussion by landing on your head! Just watch how ineffective these red shells are in this game. It went completely in the wrong way. Look at how little a boost does in this game. Compare how fast I was going to Yoshi. Now the point of drifting is to give yourself a small extra boost, but really, it does nothing. Just your character goes, Yahoo! So I guess it's just for kicks and giggles. There's just something about this stage I don't like. Like it was intended to be a flyby for Princess Peach's castle, but all you see is that one little corner right there. Here's a replay. That's all you see. No, it's the last lap. I must come in second. Peach, I beat you. Ah, you're a loser. I win. Yes. Wow.
Wow, were your jokes always as spotty as a used tampon? Can we never talk about this ever again, please? The positive gamer in me gives the retro Mario Kart 64 a boosted 8 out of 10. Sure, later installments render this game almost completely obsolete, but this classic multiplayer mayhem is still just as fun today as it was back in the late 90s. The critical gamer in me finds Mario Kart 64 to be worth a solid 7 out of 10. Its single and multiplayer fast-paced racing chaos is some of the best you can find on the console, regardless of how outclassed it will become later. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Mario Kart 64 in the comments below. Don't be that person who tarnishes a game for someone just because you've never gave them a fair chance to play. Video games should be fun for everyone. And if you don't think so, then you deserve the Banana Slammer! And you're just playing with yourself. Alright, another retro game to add to the resume. You ready for this week's review, Hamster? Yeah, boy, that was a tough one. Barely got through it at all. Huh? I mean, sure, NES games are hard, but I didn't think it was all that bad. Are you serious? What with that bogus wind, faulty springs, and poison mushrooms? You mean the flying carpets, sand traps, and vegetables? You played Super Mario Bros. 2, right? Yes! No, I definitely played Super Mario Bros. 2. I just want to figure out what pack of lies you played. I'm positive I played Super Mario Bros. 2. It said so on the box art and title screen. What the heck did you play? What I played had Goombas, Koopas, castles, Bowser, and I saved the princess at the end. Well, I played as Mario characters who could jump. What? Yeah, other than that, it wasn't like the first game at all. What? Yes, sir, there are 2 Super Mario Bros. 2s. The original Japanese exclusive and the completely different Western repackaging of another game entirely. And I see no better way to conclude sequel season than with both sequels to the NES classic, Super Mario Bros. Well, since we both prepared to talk about different games, I'll be focusing on the Japan-only Famicom Disk System game, more commonly known today as Super Mario Bros. 2, The Lost Levels. And I'll be covering what Western audiences knew as Super Mario Bros. 2 before they learned about the original Japanese sequel, now known as Super Mario Bros. 2 USA. My game was hard! And mine had a bubble-belching frog that I stuffed full of vegetables from a tuba until he exploded. What the heck was I missing? In Lost Levels, you'll be playing a very traditional recreation of the original Super Mario Bros., but with more challenging levels and mechanics that range from cruel trial and error beginner's traps to completely unfair platforming challenges. Whereas Mario 2 USA is nothing like the original at all. It's actually a reskin of the existing Japanese release Doki Doki Panic, with Mario character sprites instead of the original cast, and a run button. For the most part, that's the only differences. Lost Levels was deemed too difficult for Western audiences, resulting in this odd situation where we got 2 Mario 2s. Also kind of ironic considering how much the West is into stupidly hard games lately, but whatever, Japan. Anyway, in USA, you'll be grabbing and throwing objects and enemies as you run, jump, and even climb your way to the end of each level. Many Mario characters you know and love, like Shy Guy, Bob-omb, and Birdo, all make their debut in USA and are all technically Doki Doki Panic characters, swiped by the fat red plumber. And fun fact, Birdo is arguably the first ever trans character in a video game. Birdo is one of the many level bosses like Mauser and Triclide that you'll need to defeat by grabbing and throwing their projectiles back at them in order to clear each level. Whereas Lost Levels pretty much has all the token enemies and hazards from before, although their placement and even mechanics have been altered to make them even more challenging. A big part of USA is the fact that you now have 4 playable characters to choose between at the start of each stage, and there's actually reason to, as Mario, Luigi, Toad, and Princess Toadstool all play differently. And if their attributes at all sound familiar to you, then good, because they defined Mario characteristics from here on out. And the best part is they were all directly ripped from the original 4 Doki Doki Panic cast: Imogen, Mama, Papa, and Lena. Mario can run fast, Luigi can jump high, the princess can float, and Toad can dig fast. Okay, scratch the digging thing, but come on, it's all the same today! Mario and Luigi even have their staple weight differences, as Mario falls fast while Luigi is floaty in the air, making him and the princess ideal choices for nearly every stage. Anyway, Lost Levels isn't anything like that. It plays like a gauntlet of extreme trials, like looping levels with secret exits, springs that launch you a mile high, wind that can blow you off course, hidden platforms, and even enemies with sporadic levels of bounce heights they might send you after jumping on them. Some send you flying up high, whereas others, like sinister paratroopers, can send you careening straight down into a bottomless pit. Sure, there's some challenging level design in USA as well, but it's greatly alleviated by selecting the right character for the job. Plus, there's plenty of secret warp zones and bonus minigames awarding extra lives to help make the game a little more cozy. Lost Levels has warp zones too, and some straight up send you backwards! Well, that's a pisser. You thought you found a secret, but instead you got forced back to the beginning? Your game had nothing like this? No. My warps went forward. The hardest it got were long jumps over bottomless pits as Luigi trying to jump from the moving Pidgeots to get across. That's it! There were so many maddening traps and unforgiving levels that the entirety of Lost Levels felt like a cruel joke. There were even 2 Bowsers in the final maze of a level. You still beat it, didn't you? Come on, come on, come on. Yes! Oh! Screw you, Bowser, and suck on my fat Italian and gooey sausage! Darn tootin'. With liberal use of save states, I imagine. I still won, don't shame me. You and Birdo can go suck an egg. Lost Levels looks identical to the first game. All right, now with that out of the way, let's talk about Mario 2 USA. The colorful sprite quality and animations are a large step up from last time, and the various physics and mechanics of the characters and level design allow for seamless horizontal and vertical scrolling. Now you're just reviewing Doki Doki Panic. No, you see, this has Mario. No, that's just Doki Doki Panic with a fat Italian mustache drawn on the box. Fine, well the Doki Doki Panic parts look great, and so does the mustache. There is absolutely no attempt whatsoever to revisit the bare bones story that we got last time, and instead it all just happens again, verbatim. And now with that out of the way, let's talk about Mario USA. Really? What more story could you possibly add? Mario is transported to the Dream World Subcon, where a voice warns him of the terrible frog Wart's curse over the land's people. Mario awakens to find that Luigi, Toad, and the princess all had the same dream as well, so they decide they should have a picnic and just forget about it, where they happen to find access to the real Subcon from their dreams and reluctantly save the land from Wart, only for Mario to awaken from a dream at the very end, again, calling literally everything into question. Well, somebody was on the super mushrooms when they came up with that. Say it. Exactly the same as last time. Now with that out of the way, let's talk. Don't get over yourself, your soundtrack's just okay. It's been playing this entire episode because someone didn't bring anything new to the table. This was a weird era of video game sequels. They were either totally different like Castlevania or Zelda, or they were exactly the same but harder to rake in more arcade quarters. I can't believe you played the whole thing. At the end of the day, I'm not sure how I feel about Super Mario Bros. 2. Doki Doki Panic. The game's fine and all. It just never stood out to me as fun or memorable enough of an NES title to recommend to anyone. And Lost Levels really is just more of the arcade classic that I loved, just starting at what feels like World 9-1 and going up from there. It's fun enough with save states between levels, but not exactly something I'd recommend either unless you hate yourself. And with that optimistic outlook, let's rate these two Mario 2s. The positive gamer in me rates the Doppler Super Mario Bros. 2 USA with a middle-of-the-road 5 out of 10. It was fine enough for a single playthrough, but give me 1 or 3 any day of the week over this odd relic of gaming history. The critical gamer in me finds Super Mario Bros. 2 USA to be worth a decent enough 6 out of 10. It's a slightly above average NES title that gets awkwardly remembered for being America's Mario sequel and not the Japanese creative ethnic platformer that it truly is. And the positive gamer in me finds the region-locked Super Mario Bros. 2 The Lost Levels to be a fun enough, challenging arcade expansion landing on a 7 out of 10. As a big fan of the original, discovering new levels is just a treat, regardless of how infuriating some of them are. But the critical gamer in me gives the real Super Mario Bros. 2 an indifferent 6 out of 10. As a standalone game, its off-putting design holds it back, but at heart, it's still more of the timeless classic we all know and love. Weird that I ended up liking Lost Levels over Mario USA, and I just thought they were both kinda meh. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate both Super Mario Bros. 2s in the comments below. You know, Doki Doki Panic directly translates to heart-pounding panic, which ironically doesn't describe the game at all, but fits Lost Levels all too well. Though these two retro sequels of the same game aren't as Doki Doki as modern titles, if you're passing them up altogether, then you're just playing with yourself. Okay, I'm looking at the runtime of this video and it is way too long for your usual April Fool's Day shenanigans. We're not actually reviewing Minecraft, are we? I do solemnly swear that by the end of this review, I will honestly and fairly rate Minecraft with an actual numbered score. Wow, okay, well, me too, I guess. I guess the joke was that it wasn't a joke. Yeah, no, the joke is that I just suckered all the insufferable Minecrafty cretins into watching a review that was actually all about a better series they should all be playing instead. Oh Lord, they're gonna crucify us. Surprise, you sheltered butt smudges, it's a stealth review, and I'm gonna forcefully broaden your horizons of sandbox games whether you like it or not. I played Minecraft this week for nothing. We're both old enough to remember it being passed around as a free game in high school before it was fully released in 2011. It wasn't even fun for free. And you guys are actually paying money for this? We could spend an hour talking about better ways to spend your money on games, but I opted to focus on one sandbox franchise in particular, as it's not only incomparably more enjoyable and cheaper than Minecraft, but it's also got a rich history spanning all the way back to the late 90s, and it is still alive today. Bring it on, I'll take anything over more mind crap monotony. Get ready for some classic sandbox shenanigans in Roller Coaster Tycoon. Oh my god, I love those games! Oh wait, I could have been playing those all week instead. Not only Roller Coaster Tycoon, but also its sequels and Zoo Tycoon, as well as their modern iterations, Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo. Nice! As a kid, they're cool because you get to build your own zoos and theme parks, and as an adult, it's a nice enough fantasy just having money for a change. For posterity, in Minecraft, you just kind of fart around in a randomly generated map with no goals or purpose other than to literally mine and craft stuff indefinitely. Sandbox games are all about feeling free to do your own thing in an open area with a plethora of tools, allowing you to make your own goals based on the rules that govern the world. Or at least the good ones do that. You'll have to download a few gigs of mods to Minecraft first in order to make the gameplay even remotely interesting. But in Roller Coaster Zoo Crap, this is gonna be a mouthful. Let's go with Planet Tycoon. Okay, fine. In the Planet Tycoon series, you can choose to play in an open sandbox or in various campaign missions with pre-constructed stipulations and a wide gamut of solutions to a vast array of park-related business management scenarios. You're the big boss with the checkbook, and it's up to you to appease the masses by learning about what they like and dislike about your park and finding ways to utilize your limited income and improve your attractions and drive in more visitors and expand. land. The beauty of the game's management loop is that the expanding attractions inevitably cause more costs and problems to fix. You'll need more maintenance, food and drinks, cleaning staff, and of course money to make it all go round. So you get all the fun of creating your own dream theme park, but also in deciding how to manage your resources in profitable times and in financial emergencies where you'll need to cut costs, attractions, and even jobs. You capitalist jerk. You even look down at your creation from an airborne isometric angle to see it all grow, as well as isolate and listen to any random visitor in your park. You can even pluck them up and move them anywhere like an omnipotent wall master from Zelda. You have so many resources at your disposal, it's insane. Like dozens of specialty shops and restaurants with customizable everythings like food toppings and individual prices. There's so many pathways and decorations and entertainers and even a fully customizable roller coaster creator tool that you can even test ride in first person. Now some games obviously specialize in certain things, like all the amazing water park rides, full-blown choreographical firework displays, and other cool features from Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 Platinum. I had a full-blown fireworks show set to Weird Al's White and Nerdy that played every day at 3:14. Pie time, baby. I built a park with free admission and an entire strip mall of free food of every variety. The catch was there was only one bathroom at the very top of a giant staircase in the sky that charged $20 to use. And I got a profit! That's evil! Oh no. Evil was my Rainbow Panda Death Cult park. I don't think I want to know. So in a perfectly normal water park, visitors can ride on a giant water slide that doesn't actually drop them back in the pool like it's supposed to. Hold on, the park inspector would shut down the ride if it was unsafe, which is exactly why I dropped him in an active volcano filled with angry lions. Now anyway, the slide does technically drop them in water, just not the correct water, so the game allowed it. Oh no, what did you do? The slide flings them halfway across the map and into a single tile with a bottomless pond just too deep to climb out of safely. And this is where the rainbow pandas come in. As your guests are drowning? Exactly. You see, entertainers can put on any mascot outfit, and I chose the panda, one of every color available, resulting in a crowd of colorful dancing pandas. What does that have to do with? And all of them are surrounding this tiny pond, and because of the way they're programmed to face nearby guests and dance, oh my god, they all dance around a never-ending sacrificial human conveyor belt, unflinchingly carrying out their righteous rainbow panda duties to dance! Why don't they get help? Oh, well, you see, that's why there's a giant electric fence around them. Yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 got a water park and zoo expansion, which is why outside the electric fence, there's a real platoon of actual pandas. And surrounding them all is another electric fence with viewing platforms where guests can pay to witness this never-ending cycle from a safe distance, before ultimately going for the long ride on the slide themselves. People actually paid money to go watch this and then got on the death slide themselves? You won't see that in Minecraft. Minecraft is, without a doubt, the ugliest game I have ever seen. Alright, so on to good games. The graphics range in the Planet Tycoon series over the years, but overall they look really nice for their intended PCs of the time. The isometric angles can complicate things in confined spaces and make detailed changes difficult at times, but once you get a hang of the user interface, you can build just about anything you can imagine. I built the real-life Cincinnati Zoo and the theme park Kings Island. They both lost boatloads of money just to operate, and their income didn't come anywhere near covering it all. Yeah, some real-life parks need donations in order to survive, I've learned. It's hard to judge the graphics across so many games over such a huge window of time, especially when the new games allow you to adjust the textures and poly count to best suit your CPU's capabilities. So it's somewhere between beautiful and absolute crap. What do you want me to say? At least it always looks better than Minecraft. If you wanted a story in Minecraft, you should have bought the Dungeons games instead. However, if you wanted a quality video game, you should have bought literally anything else. And you might be surprised to hear that the Planet Tycoon series actually does a really good job with handling story as well. For the Roller Coaster Tycoon games, you play through a series of what are called scenarios of increasing difficulty acting as levels in the game. Each scenario suddenly puts you in charge of a new park facing some sort of hurdle to overcome, and your challenge is in overcoming the stipulations with limited time, money, and real estate in order to save the park. Sure, it's not much of a story, But in a game with literally no characters, it feels amazing playing the role of a traveling entrepreneur saving struggling theme parks all around the world. And Planet Coaster and Zoo both expand on this, transforming it all into a full-blown campaign. Honestly, the best part though is that these scenarios are incredibly fun to solve. I got addicted to 100%ing these challenges, as they all felt like crazy complicated puzzles that you get to dissect and slowly understand before your big breakthrough plan is set into motion and you beat the scenario by nothing but your own creativity alone. But if you seriously prefer digging a hole until you find and kill a giant flying shoebox, then I'm sure your mommy is very proud of you for learning how to use the keyboard. There is basically no music in Minecraft. Smash Bros. Had to get real creative when creating that stage, which is actually a really cool stage, by the way. In the Planet Tycoon games, music and ambient sounds are absolutely everywhere based on your proximity to attractions in the park. This ranges from birds and wildlife out in the wilderness to crowds of people in densely populated areas, and of course, whatever music you want to play at your rides and attractions. Though there's a whole bunch of various themed songs to choose from, remember that these are PC games first and foremost, and that they very much encourage you to add and play your own music from anywhere. Minecraft has nothing, and Roller Coaster Tycoon has everything. That's kind of the theme of this episode, isn't it? You catch on quick. I would honestly never recommend anyone actually play Minecraft. There's so many games available today, it's not at all like when I was a kid. You have options. Broaden your horizons and find something fun and unique you'll love. This wasn't supposed to be a jab at Minecraft, but instead a recommendation for overwhelmed younger fans trying to branch out and explore other games before following the crown and becoming yet another statistic watching those cringy YouTube Minecraft videos with 1 billion views. And I think a great jumping off point from that clunky cart ride is with Roller Coaster Tycoon. If not, there's always Metroid. Well, yeah, that's a given. The Positive Gamer and Me awards the entire Radical Planet Tycoon series a 10 out of 10 for its endless levels of sheer enjoyment. Being able to swap between carefree sandbox theme park creation and thought-provoking scenarios on the fly takes this business simulator from good to outstanding. After a careful inspection, the Critical Gamer and Me rates the Planet Tycoon series with an 8 out of 10. These incredible games do come with a bit of a learning curve, as well as a few design quirks from PC games of the time. However, it doesn't stop them from being an amazing ride. Well, I promised. The Positive Gamer in Me gives Minecraft a 1 out of 10. It's just not fun, in any regard. End of story. Sorry. Reluctantly, the Critical Gamer in Me gives Minecraft a 10 out of 10. Sales don't mean anything for quality, but there's no denying that this game has become a sensation in popularity, regardless of how I actually feel about it. I admit that I'm clearly missing what some people are liking about the game, but my job is to rate things critically, and the public has spoken. Also, rating something a 1 out of 10 is a perfectly confusing way to conclude this April Fool's Day review, don't you think? I don't think I want to know how the internet rates Minecraft. So tell us how your positive and critical sides rate the entire Planet Tycoon series in the comments instead. It's perfectly fine to like Minecraft. I just don't! But if you're so stubbornly defending a game without any intention of even giving others a try, then you're just playing with yourself.
At least it's a high-grade 1/100.
13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I had no idea what I was getting myself into with this game, but it just looked too interesting to ignore. And once I started playing, I quickly went from intrigued to, oh my god, I can't stop playing this game! Alright, Bomb, I think this game's giving you a brain overload. How about you? No! I gotta see what's going on with this character. I'm supposed to be the one playing the game. I just unlocked more character chapters, and now I gotta decide which one I want to play first. How about the take a break to sleep chapter? Who needs sleep when I have my yakisoba pun? Okay, finally at a good stopping point. You finished the game. A good stopping point. And now I'm ready to talk about 13 Sentinels. Honestly, I don't even know how to describe this game since it's so unique it defies genres, but regardless, I'll do my best. Indulge us while I play catch-up. Gladly. On a basic level, 13 Sentinels is a series of interactive, free-roaming, 2.5D chapter-based visual novels with real-time tactical strategy, isometric mech battles, fighting off invading alien forces while customizing and managing your team RPG style. Whoa. Excuse me? I told you, it's weird. The character story segments are easier to digest, so let's start there. Okay, hold on. Let me at least beat the game first. Wow, I know, right? How the heck do we even describe this game? I was just getting to that. Right, sorry. You start by selecting one of 13 characters and playing as them in a chapter of their own unique story, which we can shelve for later. As you complete chapters, you'll unlock subsequent ones, as well as unlock other character routes in chapters based on your uncovering of important plot threads and details that connect all of the interlinked stories. Some routes are particularly tricky to unlock, with bonus parameters and stipulations from the game's real-time strategy mech fighting mode. This is to ensure that players aren't getting spoiled by upcoming plot twists, as the game is still letting you absorb it all at your own preferred order and pace. In these segments, you'll play the part of the selected character, intermingling, investigating, and sometimes just surviving their own unique scenarios in an open side-scrolling cinematic environment. As you play, you'll acquire new thoughts, like inventory, to use in conversation with other characters you meet in order to freely explore the sci-fi scenarios and figure them out all by yourself, making your input feel real and impactful in the story. It's not the gameplay, but the story that's super engaging during this half of the game. And we'll get there, but it'll have you completing stories to unlock parameters because you're dying to continue a certain character story path, but the journey there got you super invested in another 3 stories, and that's how the gameplay gets addicting. And then there's the tactical strategy half of the game, which is super fun and addicting in its own right. You'll start by selecting a team to deploy of your 13 battle-ready Sentinels to prepare for who will be in the reserves for the upcoming subsequent battles. You see, if you deploy a certain character twice without a rest, they'll demand their union-mandated breaks and be forced to sit out the next round. It's called brain overload. Piloting a Sentinel is extremely taxing on the user, and because of this, you'll need to manage your resources and party members well in order to survive the many waves of incoming kaiju. Your goal in these battles is to defend massive underground supercomputer terminals against an outrageous onslaught of dozens of various alien machines hell-bent on complete destruction. Between stages, you can spend your accumulated meta chips from the wrecked alien Deimos on a huge slew of upgrades to your party. It's basically the flashiest tower defense I've ever seen. Considering how my favorite ability was planting sentry guns absolutely everywhere, it very much became a crazy game of tower defense. But with Gundams and alien Mechagodzillas. Undeniably, the coolest thing ever. Vanilleware's artwork is absolutely breathtaking. These screenshots you've been seeing of the game aren't wallpapers. That's actually what the game looks like. Every single character and set piece looks phenomenal. Isn't Vanillaware that group that made Dragon's Crown some of the most uncomfortably drawn anatomy I've ever seen? Put that lumpy flesh back where it came from, or so help me! I'll give you that. Regardless of their subject matter, the team at Vanillaware are pros at giving things a beautiful painterly vibe that makes their characters and environments appear cinematically vibrant. Their lighting alone gives a ton of depth to the 2.5D world, making what would otherwise be drab city set pieces look like they were exclusively shot during the most spectacular sunrises and sunsets in history. And then the real-time strategy segments get this computerized simulation aesthetic in order to simplify all the chaos that would otherwise be cluttering up the screen with smoke and debris. Luckily, they animated each Sentinel performing their unique attacks, so you can at least imagine what devastation your commands are actually wreaking on the invaders. This game is so freaking gorgeous, it's probably what drew you to check it out to begin with. Better than whatever the heck they were doing with Dragon's Crown. Ah, come on, that's gross! Are people actually getting off to these fleshy monstrosities? This game's story is absolutely nuts. If you're a fan of the sci-fi genre and surprising creative plot twists, then take my word for it and just play this game without even listening to another word. Seriously, I won't even feel bad. Okay, maybe a little. The game's story is divided into a non-linear sequence of 13 intertwined characters, on top of their ultimate assembly and collective assault on the incoming alien Deimos once their stories coalesce. As we previously discussed, this is all played out of order, creatively to never accidentally spoil the player to upcoming plot points, leaving you to wonder how these various people will all eventually come together and pilot giant mechs to prevent the apocalypse. This story is absolutely jam-packed with sci-fi plot twists. I bet if you think of one cool sci-fi theme you really like right now, it's probably a prominent factor in at least one of these 13 characters' campaigns. Seriously, it's like a huge collection of all the coolest ideas all roll into one! And luckily, to avoid the game going completely out of hand, you'll slowly reveal scenes you've played on a master timeline document, making sense of everything you've played up to this point. You can even revisit and play those scenes from this menu in order to help remind you of their exact contents, if the in-game descriptions weren't enough. And the real meat of the story is in playing out those 13 campaigns, which, unlike other similar multi-character campaign games like Octopath Traveler, all of these character stories connect in meaningful and impactful ways that drive the plot as a whole forward, where missing out on even one of them would be detrimental to the overall story. Since each character's story campaign could be the plot of a crazy sci-fi movie all their own, we'll just give you 13 teasers for you to absorb, leaving how they'll all cross paths and ultimately conjoin up to your imagination until you experience the game yourself. Juro Karabe is your average 80s high schooler fond of sci-fi and monster movies. His life appears normal at first, routinely hanging out with his friends after school, until he slowly uncovers an ominous plot set up to manipulate his entire life by a fraud in disguise. Yori Fuyusaka is a young schoolgirl with a crush on a boy she's only seen in passing. After daydreaming about what he must really be like with her friends, she gets the opportunity to meet him and ultimately gets thrown headfirst into a fast-paced action thriller as the two avoid their mysterious pursuing men in black. Megami Yakushiji is a shy schoolgirl who will go to any lengths to protect the boy she loves, even going so far as to listen to a strange talking cat who gives her a sinister futuristic gun and tells her that the only way to protect her love is to isolate and shoot all her friends. Shu Amaguchi is a laid-back, flirty pretty boy who's ambivalent about his own popularity at school, because when he's alone at night he receives strange messages from a pop idol through his television like a poltergeist, whom he assists in unraveling a massive conspiracy. Ryoko Shinonome is a sickly girl recovering from a mysterious accident that affected her memory, forced to ingest strange pills in order to keep her ailment at bay. She fights the mental constraints and captors, keeping her from unraveling the conspiracy that truly holds her prisoner. Takatoshi Hijiyama is a young soldier from the 40s who suddenly finds himself transported over 40 years in the future. Now alone and devoid of any acquaintances or prospects, he lives as a determined vagrant, fervently seeking out the strange man who ruined his life. A Sekigahara awakens with amnesia in a back alley murder crime scene. Gathering what little clues he can about himself and the situation, he's suddenly on the run from the murderous men in black, actively pursuing him with lethal intent. Yuki Takamiya is a powerfully tough, well-known delinquent who gets wrapped up in an undercover operation in order to save her best friend, all the while pushing people for whatever extra information she can gather for her conspirators and against them. Natsuno Minami, a friendly track team student, gets thrown into a whirlwind time-traveling adventure when she discovers a tiny robot hiding in her locker room who needs her help in tracking down a massive futuristic mech lost in time. Nenji Ogata, the school punk who deeply cares for his friends, finds himself trapped in a time loop, where he scrambles to find his way out of a never-ending cycle, beginning innocently enough at a train station and culminating in the end of the world. Tomi Kisaragi is a disrespectful teenage girl who finds herself flung into a devastated future world alongside a couple friends, where her entire city has been destroyed by rampaging aliens. Though she keeps her secrets to herself, this may not be her first unconventional trip through time. Keitaro Miura, a respectfully diligent young soldier from the 40s, was one of the first chosen to pilot the new experimental Sentinels in World War II. However, when a sudden alien attack completely obliterates his home and family, he's taken on a journey into the future with an even greater role to fulfill. Renya Goto is a brilliant detective-like man who will do whatever is necessary to uncover the truth about a long-dormant conspiracy conspiracy involving a secret massive underground UFO, including manipulating the many pawns at play in order to ensure that the mysterious operation is a success. And that's just the main characters you play as. There's so many characters, all so well written that they all feel like their own compelling protagonists of their own stories, even when they overlap and become the villains in another's. This story gets absolutely mad as they all interconnect in crazy ways. It's seriously all so good, it'll keep you glued to your controller throughout. It's even so good that it even retains replay value even after you're in on the dozens of sci-fi plot twists. You see how long it took to just give you a little morsel of what this story will be like, and we're still only scratching the surface? It's incredible. I will not say any more. Shut up and play it already. Oh, it's so cool. The battle themes especially are just amazing, alongside the super satisfying sound effects for all the mech battles. It does get kind of annoying in mech battles when characters will say the same few lines over and over again when given similar orders. But granted, that seems to be a requirement for anime games for some reason. But speaking of the character voices, they're all professionally done and are awesome where it matters, in the actual story and cutscenes. Plus, the entire game was localized in several languages, and the English team did an outstanding job. It'll sound dumb, but I really love how the main menu plays this muffled version of the theme until you press a button and it flashes into the animated title card and the music blasts into its full glory. Yeah, I gotta admit, the sound design here is top notch. Just in case you're somehow not sold on this game, we're still gonna hit you with this segment. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is one of the most creative games to come out in the past decade. If the beautiful art style alone didn't drag you in, trust me when I say that this story will grip you hard and won't be letting go. I went into this game with high hopes, but still didn't really know what to expect. And somehow, even those expectations were blown away with this impressive end product. This game was so good that I actually feel bad about it. Kim and I were playing this together before I couldn't help it and played a little bit farther alone. And then a little more, and then some more, until I was so many hours ahead of her that I ended up finishing the entire game, leaving her behind to do her own playthrough. Sorry. Hello, Positive Gamer in me gives 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim a phenomenal 10 out of 10. The only thing I wish for at the end of this playthrough was a way to completely erase my memory of the game so that I could start over fresh and experience it all over again. The critical gamer in me has to give 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim a 9 out of 10. After a lot of thought, I nearly caved in with a perfect score, but was left a bit miffed from the few times I got lost or annoyed or confused in some of the character stories, and from the strategy battles not posing quite enough of a challenge. It was, however, an all-around work of art and a nearly flawless one. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim in the comments below. But if you're out there demeaning a game that you haven't even played yet, then you're just playing with yourself. Oh, hey, Game Freak, how's it going? Whoa, what are you? Oh no, not you again! We respectfully wish to extend a formal apology on behalf of the Pokemon Company, including Game Freak and all other relevant subsidiaries, for our previously released 2019 publications, and we condone any and all alleged actions that may have been interpreted by some as offensive in some way by our beloved customer base. Feels kinda disingenuous. how am I ever supposed to trust you again? Here at Game Freak, we deeply care about and respect the feedback and interests from our many loyal investors.
Don't you mean fans?
And it is in this state of self-reflection that we offer our investors
Fans!
this token for our understanding of your valid concerns about the recent quality level of our products, and promise our ongoing changes towards a better future will be in lieu of our newly mended relationships, finances. Oh, hey, I'm not just gonna forget what you did. I know what you're really like. You can't just fix all that with a, this actually looks pretty good. Still kind of stinks though. At first glance, Pokemon Legends Arceus feels like the next step in the Pokemon formula we've needed for well over a decade. Is this really the same despicable company we all know and tolerate? Yep, that's definitely Game Freak. Forget everything you know about this game. Not everything! In terms of gameplay, okay? So remember the wild area? Well, make it way bigger and add 5 different biome-themed maps to explore, and you've basically got Legends Arceus. But it's still awkwardly paced with lengthy, non-voice-acted story segments like before. Dude, nobody's buying Pokemon for that stuff. Then why is it still here? One thing at a time. The gameplay itself is where all the innovations are anyway, so let's start there. We're about to talk innovations in Pokemon. Brace yourself, this is still real life. This is the first real home console version of Pokemon, and as such, it's dropping many of the series' inherited Game Boy era limitations and instead is taking inspiration from other modern Switch classics. He means Breath of the Wild. Yeah, and they weren't even being subtle about it. The games even have identical intros. However, like a lot of the many mimicking lookalikes out there, it completely misses the core design philosophy that makes Breath of the Wild so great to begin with. Oh, come on now, we can't start ripping on them for their first genuine creative thought since the GBA. You gotta reward this kind of behavior. You want me to go easy on a multi-billion-dollar company, the largest media franchise in the world, all because they turned out something better than their usual annual soulless chaff for a change by copying someone else's homework? Nah. I'm gonna tell it like it is. Luckily, what it is pretty great. The biggest implementations come in the form of adding real-time action and modern RPG standards to the series for a change. See, the back of the box even says, action meets RPG. What's next? Is first person gonna meet shooting? Yeah. In large open environments, you'll sneak up on, avoid, or engage wild Pokemon that will either try to flee or attack you on sight. And if you sustain too much damage from their attacks in a short amount of time, you'll black out and drop some of your items at that spot for other players to find and return to you later as a penalty. Let's take this in for a second. Pokemon actually engage you in real-time combat and use their real attacks in an effort to defeat you, where you'll need to dodge and escape their pursuit or send in your own captured Pokemon to do battle with them right there on the spot. Speaking of battles, Pokemon finally adapted a turn order system, allowing you to plan ahead and even manipulate your speed priority by altering any move as a faster but weaker agile style attack or a hard-hitting slow strong style attack at the cost of 1 extra PP per move. Speaking of moves, they also got a huge overhaul. Aside from the tremendous amount of balancing fixes for the new speed mechanic, any new learned moves are added to that Pokemon's move pool, which players can then access and select their preferred 4 moves from at any time. Even status effects got a huge update as well. Sleep is now drowsy, allowing you the chance to attack through it like paralysis, and frozen is now frostbite, leaving incremental damage over time like a burn. And confusion just sucks, so it's gone! Weather effects are also back, but because of the Sinnoh theme being what it is, we also got fog, the worst effect in history, returning. But no defog to remove it since HMs are gone. On top of that, its accuracy hindering effects were cranked way up! Why so many quality of life changes just to spit in our faces like that, Game Freak? HMs are gone, yes, but rideable Pokemon once again take their place. As you progress, you'll unlock preset Pokemon to call upon and use to traverse the large environments more easily. Granted, they all kind of become redundant once you get Braviary and you can basically Rivali's Gale infinitely and with no cooldown and even dash while flying. However, this feature does showcase one of the game's many flaws. Terrible pop-in. You could be casually riding on Weirdeer, basically the bike, and hear a shiny Pokemon appear behind you. No kidding, this actually happened to me. But hey, shiny Pokemon are in the game and are actually visible in the overworld. And since you'll be zooming by dozens of them every few seconds, you'll rake in loads of them if you so much as almost try. Remember why shiny Pokemon are special in the first place? Because Game Freak sure freaking doesn't! Moving on, a huge new feature is the ability to aim and throw Pokeballs to catch wild Pokemon outright, or send out your own to admire, gather craftables, or engage wild Pokemon in battles. Right, since this is copying Breath of the Wild's homework, we've got unnecessary crafting. However, it's not too intrusive, crafting potions from herbs and Pokeballs from apricorns, but without all the cool unique apricorn balls from Johto. Instead though, we get feather and heavy balls, which fly far or drop fast on unsuspecting Pokemon respectively. There's also great and Ultra Ball variants for each one once you gather enough goods and level up your rank. Your rank is what replaces the gym badge system, allowing higher level Pokemon to obey your commands. You level this up by simply capturing Pokemon and filling out their information in your growing Pokedex. Don't you just love all these segues? Filling out the Pokedex is actually your primary objective this time. Okay, well, sort of. We'll get there in the story. Oh boy, are we ever. But anyway, the Pokedex has all sorts of challenges to help you gather points and research Pokemon to the max level 10, like use a specific move or defeat them with super effective attacks a number of times. Maxing every Pokemon isn't necessary to trigger the final encounter. Instead, the Shiny Charm awaits those who do, making Shinies even easier to find in a game completely devoid of post-game content other than repeatable battles and dex grinding to watch some arbitrary numbers go up. Hey, I did it just because the gameplay was fun enough and it gave me a goal to reach for. Considering how the game itself sure didn't. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention the game's new gimmick boss fights, the Noble Pokemon, that you'll battle using the ball throwing mechanic in a sudden third-person shooting segment, hurling bags of mashed up food at them to calm them down. Cause nothing calms me down more than someone clocking me over the head with a potato. Couldn't we just get the cool ball throwing mechanic without any intrusive gimmicks for once? We did, however, get various Pokemon sizes making a return, with the new oversized Alpha Pokemon kinda acting as wild traditional boss encounters, and that's pretty cool. It adds some extra randomness and variety to the otherwise samey areas. Defeating or capturing Alphas nets you bonus XP candy, which is reluctantly back from Sword and Shield, though not quite as broken, thankfully, and the new grit items that you can spend on basically increasing your Pokemon's base stats on a new spin on the EV system, where rare gravel, pebbles, and rocks can eventually max each stat by 10 levels each. No compromising or strategizing anymore. Hope you didn't miss that. It's far simpler than the old system, albeit painstakingly boring to use and max all your Pokemon one grit stone at a time in the menu. Evolutionary items are now available at a shop, and are now so plentiful enough in the wild if you know where you're looking, you probably won't even need the shop. There's even items for trade-only evolutions like the Link Cable, used like a stone on the correct Pokemon to make the life a little bit simpler for people like me who just don't have any friends. Even traditional level-up evolutions are done from the menu, so you can evolve whenever you're ready. No more mashing B each time or holding an Everstone to make sure you can evolve when you want to. Speaking of which, held items and abilities are both gone, making the game much simpler to digest for beginners. And honestly, I don't miss them, though they'll probably come back in future games anyway. Some Pokemon-defining abilities like Charums and Regigigas still happen, so don't fret. However, Zoroark's unfortunately does not, considering how that would have been too amazing. Yeah, basically. Anyway, I've heard a lot of players praising the difficulty for this game, and for that I've gotta ask, were you playing with your feet or something? This was one of the easiest, most unbalanced RPGs I've ever played in my life. You can literally just sneak up on anything and capture it. Or forget stealth altogether. The best strategy for catching almost any Pokemon is just to run straight up to them and clock them right in the face with a Pokeball. This no-effort open RPG just levels you up and rewards you in all the wrong ways and for all the wrong reasons way faster than the game can even keep up with. Yeah, I didn't realize how over-leveled I was until the occasional trainer battle happened, which, by the way, there's not nearly enough of in this game. My Pokemon were always double or sometimes even triple the opponent's unevolved single Pokemon's level. What's up with that? The worst case was with the final boss that was hyped up online as the most powerful trainer in the series, and I absolutely slaughtered them on my first try with a random team of shinies I found along the way. it was pitiful. Honestly though, there's so many cool quality of life changes like this that help make the gameplay refreshing and exciting again for the first time in years. However, it's still got a long way to go before Pokemon will be anywhere near the AAA level that it deserves to be. Yeah, this was fun and all, but now it just makes me really want to play a Pokemon game that's finally caught up with the rest of the industry. And I mean that in the most endearing way possible. Say goodbye to N64 trees and say hello to GameCube trees. Hey, I like the GameCube! I kid, but this is a large step forward from last time with much nicer textures, effects, and animations actually remade this time and not just ported and upscaled from the 3DS. Okay, well, a lot of them are at least. This game's art style is obviously ripping off Breath of the Wild, and although it doesn't look quite as nice, especially the ugly sky and water, it's still pleasant enough to look at. And at least it's not this game. Even the menus and UI got ripped from Breath of the Wild, but unfortunately not the button mapping. What would you assume the menu button would be? Start. Nope. Select? Nope. Oh right, the last game was stupid. It was like X or Y. Nope and nope. If you guessed up on the D-pad, congratulations, you're just as sick in the head as the Pokemon designers. Oh right, we got new Pokemon in this game. Oh yeah, here's how I feel about all of them. Is this fire rock dog supposed to be fluffy? Looks like a discount Muppet oozing soft serve ice cream. This is supposed to be a Chinese food dog, right? But why is it gray? How could they possibly mess up Arcanine? Screwing up this hard takes real talent, you've gotta admit. So if regular Voltorbs don't exist until we have regular Pokeballs, then why do wooden ones already exist before Apricorn balls are made in the first place? What came first, the Pokeball or the Voltorb? I love that it gets a unique attack where it blasts a green laser beam out of its anus so hard it nearly kills him. I'm conflicted here. Without the fire, he looks like a purple finger puppet on heroin. But with it, he looks incredibly sinister. So I gotta meet him halfway with a meh. They've gotta just be drawing random names out of a hat to decide what Pokemon get new forms anymore, aren't they? It messes with me so much that Sneasel is now fighting and poison. Practically the opposite of what he used to be, but still lives in the icy tundra? Hold up, isn't this just a shiny Samurott? I've gotta have the wrong image here. Hold on, let me see what I've... Wait, what? That's it? What the heck's the difference? Okay, I made jokes about Creatures Inc. baiting for creepy anime porn before, but literally stripping away Lilligant's dress, revealing long, slender legs is just going too far. Ghost Normal doesn't even make a little sense, but I don't care. I love it. One gloriously creepy, baneful fox. Still miffed about his ability not working, but at least he didn't get the Arcanine treatment. America Bird is now righteously flying the transgender flag on his face. All you bigots and homophobes can only dream of having an afro as funky fresh as his. How about Escarno? Not only is it just Goodra in a shell, they messed up the shiny colors! Come on! They made Avalog a walking picnic table with a Dorito for a mouth, and I'm not sure how I'm supposed to feel about that. Well, at least Owlman isn't ghost type anymore. Now he's into weed and taekwondo. So I'll be honest, I don't know what to call this. It's not a new Pokemon, it's not a Hisuian form, it's just a third Basculin. I didn't even know it was different until researching this video. I don't hate it, I don't like it, it just exists, even though nobody seems to even realize it. In the same vein of odd alternate forms, we got new legendary origin forms because Game Freaks had a boner for them for years. This one's for when Dialga skips leg day and gets an entire coffin lodged sideways in his esophagus. Luckily for me, I didn't care much for the Gen 4 legendaries to begin with, so when you turn Palkia into an armless My Little Pony Centaur hybrid freak, I'm not particularly offended. Right, we're going back to Sinnoh, so of course we're getting a bunch of unnecessary evolution. Is that Stantler? I love it. Because giant bug exoskeletons wouldn't work at this size, so we snapped back and made it solid stone, but he can somehow still move. And his brittle little arms don't snap like twigs when he swings those ridiculous organic battle axes. By the way, this is another Scyther evolution. Why does the big werebear Ursaring evolution not evolve with a moonstone? And why did he get demoted to dousing machine duty? Local forgettable angry fish from Unova evolves into a majestic sea monster and gives horsey rides. Literally all you did was give it human anatomy for all the DeviantArt creeps, and also that rock climb ability which gets incredibly outclassed by Braviary's flight, but keeps happening accidentally every single time you touch a ledge. Hideous design, annoying in gameplay, poo-poo Pokemon. I was hesitant at first, but the fact that this Quill shellfish evolution is named Overquill is so hilariously fitting that I cannot help but love it. So the Tornado Genie trio are now supposedly about the seasons, so here's a fourth one to round them out. But for some reason, Tornadus is winter, even though he's weak to ice. Why isn't this new one just ice type for winter instead? It's also an extremely frustrating capture and hideous design, in case you were wondering. Oh, they're so much less horrible than last time, it's great! That just sounds like Stockholm Syndrome if you ask me. I've heard so many people praising the story this time around, and after beating the game, I'm a bit confused. We're talking about this game, right? This one right here? Now, if people were delusional enough to call this disaster of a narrative anything but abysmal as always, then Stockholm Syndrome is certainly to blame. The setup at least has promise, however, the entire thing falls apart from there. From the very beginning, yeah, it's beyond stupid. That is most of the story, which sucks out loud. This isn't the Game Boy anymore. However, the plot itself is so monumentally brain-numbing that we've gotta cover it as well. So after Breath of the Wild's voice from the light intro thing happens, your character gets a directive from Arceus to seek out all Pokemon for the first time since the original. He also switches out your cell phone case and keeps texting you randomly throughout your adventure. Not that anybody seemed to think about how a cell phone would recharge, much less get reception from the non-existent outlets and cell towers of ancient times, but whatever. Old school players should be excited by the catch-em-all directive before they realize that it's just as irrelevant to beating the game as the original. Yeah, so you regain consciousness on a beach, rescued by a Pokemon professor who conveniently has a goal to document all wild Pokemon in Hisui. So he takes you to the one and only town in the game, Jubilife, to get you set up in a disgustingly long intro sequence in order to begin your research of capturing Pokemon in the wild. Where the plot had potential was in the idea that you were a modern-day Pokemon trainer suddenly sent back in time to a world still learning to live alongside Pokemon and not simply fear them. It falls apart, however, when the story goes absolutely nowhere with this idea. It doesn't help that your character never speaks and emotes about as well as a toaster. But the thing is, there's other characters heavily implied to also come from the future, and absolutely nothing comes from this either, as if making occasional references to other games alone is cause for excitement, much less an excuse for a plot. The most painfully awful it ever gets is with the reverse idea, ancestors of characters we know from other Pokemon games. As if their Pokemon team preference, clothing styles, and freaking hairstyles are genetic. Seriously, what kind of imbecile thought this was a good idea? And on that note, why are there so many Pokemon trainers when the beginning sequence clearly presents you as the enlightened messiah from the sky who has come to save the baboons of the past, and nobody else in the region is even remotely competent in capturing Pokemon yet, much less raising them, but there's still trainers everywhere? You can't have both! And the characters we do have, I just want to drown in a bucket of kangaroo semen. Huh? Why would you intentionally write a character whose entire personality is annoying or self-righteous show-off? Don't you want us to like your characters, or your game for that matter? Then stop putting so much crap in it that nobody cares about, much less even likes! Wow. Yeah. So the Pokemon God talks to you on your magical cell phone, and you occasionally throw bags of food at angry glowing Pokemon to calm them down. And after doing this for 5 times, absolutely nothing else matters until the very end of the game, which we might as well include a spoiler warning skip time for, considering that this game is still new. And as we mentioned, the story had potential, so there. Everyone else who just wants to hear me pissing Game Freak's Coke, well, I don't think one Coke can possibly contain my incoming deluge of urine! The ending of this game is so genuinely bad, I'm having trouble describing it. So eventually, you're exiled from Jubilife City because the inbred racist monkey who runs the joint thinks that because the sky just sneezed purple, it must have something to do with you. Even though literally nobody agrees with him, considering you've basically Animal Crossing'd your way into taking the place from rags to riches in mere days. But whatever. This infuriating twists feels like it was planned from the start, but the writers completely forgot to add the believable motives or exposition to make it actually have any impact other than eye-rolling hatred toward the amateur writing and its characters. So you go to the top of Mount Coronet, capture a legendary duck Gundam or a mecha giraffe, and get let back into the place like nothing ever happened. There's not even any closure of having this old coot thrown out of Jubilife. Is this story seriously devoid of any and all antagonists or plot threads whatsoever? Yes. That was a rhetorical question. The answer was yes. The worst part is this is the event that gets you the end credits. This was their big story finale. Everything after this technically counts as a post-game story. Yeah, and it gets worse. So after dicking around for a while, you eventually battle yellow hair what's-his-face atop Mount Coronet, who is apparently a bad guy now. See how his hair and facial features changed and they're kind of evil looking? That's all it takes in Pokemon to pull a 180, considering how you actually have to have character to have a character shift. So you battle his and totally not Cynthia's team, and after immediately smashing his face in the dirt, who comes to save him but Giratina, which you are immediately thrown into battle with and must defeat in order to truly win this battle. This is the supposedly hard fight people keep going on about, but if my random weird ear can completely own both phases of Giratina by himself without even trying, then there's something wrong with how busted this game's balancing is. Was this the hard thing? That was the hard thing? Yes, get bigger! Oh no, he just left. Guys, I'm not even fighting with like a fully powered team. These are just like random shinies that I had. So Giratina just kind of picks up his ball and goes home, and the game is still somehow not over yet. Once you finally complete your Pokedex, you can go back to Mount Coronet for a third time and challenge Arceus to a dodgeball food fight in space until he determines that your throwing arm is impressive enough that he will teleport himself into your pasture back home in town because he's bored with omnipotence. Except the game doesn't actually tell you any of that. But I didn't catch it. You really don't catch it? Wait. Your research level's perfect. You can't get it? Oh my god, you can't get it! What the heck? I literally double-taked, like, what the heck? So, without even telling you, the game doesn't even give you end credits or anything. You don't even get to catch the Pokemon, but it just shows up in your box? Is this game busted? Is it even finished? And by the way, there's no end credits for doing any of this. You're just teleported right back to Mount Coronet, facing the other way like, hey, thanks for coming. Please exit through the gift shop on your right and don't let the heavenly gates hit you on the way out. You just wake up standing. But that's it? It just stops? God. It just stops. The game said, he didn't even give me end credits, he didn't even tell me like the end, and nothing. No explanation of how we got here, no explanation of any of the characters being here whatsoever. You didn't even try the end. No, you don't even say the end. Just put me right back where I was and turn my sorry butt around and have me go back and just keep catching Pokemon. Oh wow, yeah, that sucked. Like that really sucked. Like more than usual Pokemon games sucked. Thanks for clarifying that last part, it was important. It sucked! I thought we were gonna love this game. And you know what else kinda sucks about it? Oh, come on! This tone-deaf soundtrack, man! There are a few cool tracks, like the Noble Pokemon and battle themes. And then there's the rest of the game where you'll be exploring a coastal mountain range, and the silence is suddenly broken by some unfitting, hokey freestyle jazz. I just knew you were gonna bring that up. It honestly sounds like they tried to recreate the root themes from Diamond and Pearl and just sloppily pasted them into this game without any care or consideration to the mismatched tone or context to what this game is trying to do. And the rest of the tracks are just jerked from Breath of the Wild. But what about the sound design? Pikachu and Eevee finally make their retro sounds and stopped using their awful Pikachu thing they did. Oh yeah, you're right, that was pretty cool. See, it wasn't all that bad. The best thing this soundtrack does is go backwards. That sure says a lot. Ugh. Okay, I know all that sounds bad, but trust me, this is a great game and a massive improvement over the original series. In the grand scheme of things, this is a great Pokemon game. And a mediocre video game. Oh, come on now! Even the level mechanics got their own style of difficulty balancing to help keep every random fight between any Pokemon feeling fresh and exciting. A few low-level threats at once might be just as tense as a high-level alpha, and the differences between levels matter significantly less, making gameplay far more approachable and engaging. Though it constantly feels like there's nothing to do in the game, since the core design gameplay loop is broken. You simply catch Pokemon and research them, and that's all. There's virtually nothing else to do with them after the fact, and nothing driving you to do anything post-game for that matter, other than fill out an arbitrary checklist. I mean, you got some simple side quests, but yeah, it's Breath of the Wild but without all the shrines, or dungeons, or towns, or purpose. So sure, it's fun to catch and raise Pokemon, and that new system works really well and all, but there's no reason to do anything with it, and that's the fatal flaw with this game. So before we do this, remember that I did have a great time with this game, and it's a huge improvement for Pokemon, but we're still gonna rate it fairly. As a video game. Come on, look at the length of this review. Just rip the Band-Aid off already. I'm sorry! The positive gamer in me appraises the fresh Pokemon Legends Arceus with a 7 out of 10. Yes, it's still made by Game Freak, fresh from their recent decade-long bout of diarrhea, but it's still a fun enough time to just explore what we do have here, enjoy the creative new mechanics, and not pay the story any mind. The critical gamer in me thought long and hard about how to fairly stack up the many virtues and outright failures in Pokemon Legends Arceus, landing on a 5 out of 10. Though it might seem like tough love, that's still substantially better than most modern Pokemon games. But once again, it simply just can't stack up to its modern competition. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Pokemon Legends Arceus in the comments below. But if you think this game deserves a perfect score for basically not being Sword and Shield, then you're just playing with yourself. I miss when games were so hard they were only 15 minutes long but took a month to master and beat. Yeah, no. Like Ninja Gaiden? Oh man, I love Ninja Gaiden! You do know Tecmo made more of them after the NES trilogy, which were a little less testicle twisting. Nah, screw that 3D hack and slash stuff, that's not Ninja Gaiden at all. Then how about playing something like The Messenger? The what? It's an indie spiritual successor to Ninja Gaiden. I'm in, we're doing this now! Wow, this game got so tough at times I wasn't sure if I was even gonna beat it. How is this game so good? What? How did this absolute masterpiece slip right by me after all this time? Wow, so you really like it, huh? Who even made this? Sabotage Studios. Wait, this is their first game? Hey, that's really impressive. The Messenger is a 2D action platformer taking heavy inspiration from the NES Ninja Gaiden, if that wasn't already abundantly clear. You'll jump and slash your way through demons in several large linear levels with checkpoints scattered across the journey. But there's also many hidden paths to discover with various enemy and platforming challenges, rewarding you with these green glowy medallion thingies to smash. They don't do anything but offer extra goals and challenges to meet, like the strawberries in Celeste. However, smashing all 45 will reward the player with a classic familiar OP weapon that is definitely worth your while. At the end of each area, you'll defeat a boss, unlocking the path forward. The difficulty curve is gradual but consistent in both levels and boss fights, scaling slowly as the ninja acquires new abilities and as the player gets more time to master them. You can fire throwing stars, glide with a wingsuit, climb walls, cloud step off enemies midair for a double jump, zip around with a grappling hook, rope dart, whatever, same thing. But even with all that, prepare to die a lot. Fortunately, the game is very forgiving with deaths, as you meet up with the greed demon Quarble, who will resurrect you indefinitely, as long as he's allowed to trail behind you for as long as he feels like, eating up whatever time shards you would have collected during that window of time. Time shards, your mysterious currency you find along your journey, or collect from monsters and large crystal deposits. You'll spend them at the various shops scattered across the land, leveling up your skill tree. So yeah, death really means nothing but more experience. And it gets personal when Quarble mocks you for each death as he revives you. And he's hilarious! Quarble has so many funny remarks for the dozens of ways you can die in this game that he actually acts as a reverse psychological encouragement to keep you trying. If all else fails, you could try jumping. Did that projectile look like a health potion to you? I really wasn't expecting you to fall in that pit. That's what I would have said if I had any faith in you. What do Spikes and Quarble have in common? We both have your back! I could do this all day, which is good because it looks like I will. So eventually, you'll beat what you'll believe to be the final boss, only to be given access to a fast travel system for backtracking all over the entire map as the game suddenly becomes a Metroidvania. I wondered why someone likes it so much. From here on, you'll be exploring new paths and uncovering old ones you missed in order to complete the map and recapture scattered music notes to open your way to the true final boss. But don't expect it to be a simple ride, as you're barely halfway at this point. You will gain the ability to time travel to and from the future by jumping through the newly opened time gates scattered all over the map. This dynamically adds a ton of interesting challenges all across the entire game, as you'll soon be diving in and out of these portals to evade traps, uncover secret passages, and acquire even more abilities and collectibles. It's incredible! The controls and abilities are so sharp you'll never stop feeling like a real ninja as you effortlessly jump and slice your way around. It never stops being fun. The ability to jump after hitting anything with your sword is probably the coolest implementation, adding environmental puzzles to the list of action, platforming, and Metroiding you're already doing. It's like Samus with a katana leaping and slicing her way through a demon army. In other words, the greatest thing to ever exist. Would she hold a sword in her hand, or would it come out of the gun arm? Somebody draw that! Though The Messenger looks like your typical 8-bit indie game, what makes it soar are its incredible sprites and animations. And it only gets better when you leap into the future and the entire game becomes gloriously recreated in 16-bit. This felt so good the first time I saw it happen. I was already sold on the game's first half and was fully satisfied with that being the end. But discovering everything the second half gives you, while the game beautifully erupts into 16-bit beauty? The sprite quality in this game is so good I had to immortalize it with perler art. And yes, I am open to commissions, thanks for asking, shameless plug. My only complaint is that Ninja Gaiden had these epic cutscenes for its story beats, whereas The Messenger just kinda has these profiles and text boxes. I thought you didn't like Ninja Gaiden. Speaking of the story, the story begins as a nameless ninja slacks off from his training while his clan awaits the coming of the prophesized messenger to save them from an incoming demon invasion. Due to his lazy attitude, he ends up late for training as the demon army suddenly attacks, killing all the other ninjas. The messenger finally arrives too late and has no choice but to pass on the burden of carrying a sacred scroll to the top of a distant mountain in order to save humanity onto the last ninja, considering his greatest asset is not being dead. You're no hero, you're just the slacker who accidentally evaded gruesome death simply by being too lazy. And now you're the last hope for humanity as hell literally wages war to try and stop you. That's the setup, and the rest of the game is just as outrageous. It's a hilarious, self-aware, time-traveling tangled web from here on. And it's amazing. I always make sure to chat up the shopkeeper at every opportunity just to hear her many comical and sometimes even insightful conversations. The story will eventually lead down some strange twists that you definitely won't see coming, but never did it feel uninteresting or out of character with the world. Then you can forget all about that Demon King stuff and play the DLC Picnic Panic to have a tubular beach party, and unlock a ridiculously difficult bonus mode where you replay the entire game continually deathless. Nope, you tried it in Hollow Knight. Nope, no thank you, moving on. Okay, were you not even listening, like, the entire time? This soundtrack's amazing. This entire soundtrack was made by the talented Rainbow Dragon Eyes, and that includes the 8-bit and 16-bit renditions of every song. Aside from this being one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard, music alone is what really sells the effect of jumping from one time period to another. It's so drastic, I didn't even notice the visuals changing until after I got over the incredible music. There's even some neat musical interactions in the background, like how the mushrooms sing along to the chorus of the music of Quillshroom Marsh as you play it. It's all done so well, it's incredible. There's Metroid Prime, Portal 2, and The Messenger. Oh, they're all video games. Well, duh, but no. All have female protagonists. That's not even true. No, I got this. All have killer psychopaths. Soundtracks, thank you. Right. Yeah, that's definitely what I was gonna say. The only thing this game doesn't have going for it is its harsh difficulty, and that lackluster title. I mean, seriously, it's so much cooler than The Messenger. It sounds kind of like Paperboy. This might be the best indie game I've ever played, and I guarantee you I'll be all over Sea of Stars once Sabotage Studios finishes it. It's not even an action platformer anymore. They're making an RPG. These people are gods among men, and I don't care if they're making a visual novel porno, I'm gonna play it. I'll hold you to that just in case. The positive gamer in me had loads of fun with The Messenger, giving it a solid 9 out of 10. It's an outrageous story with incredible gameplay, music, and artwork. It'll be tough to recommend to anyone due to its challenge, but for those interested, absolutely do not let this game pass you by. The critical gamer in me can't resist awarding the incredible achievement that is The Messenger with a 10 out of 10. This game was amazing with its first half, and it didn't have to, but it went and overachieved so hard that nothing in recent memory even rivals its ambition or success. But what do you think? Let us know how your positive and critical sides rate The Messenger in the comments below. But if you think indie games can't be as good as a full-blown AAA title, then you're just playing with yourself. Hey Hamster, I found all your old games. You mean all of what my family didn't sell to GameStop without my permission? What's Nai Kuni? I'd forgotten all about Ni no Kuni. Oh yeah, this was that Studio Ghibli Level 5 crossover game from 2013. It's been nearly a decade, but I never forgot about you. But you just said pop this in, we're talking about this one. This is boring. I never said it wouldn't be. When's it gonna start? We've been playing for hours. No, like really start. Start what? I don't know. Being fun? I'll let you know. After a disgustingly long and monotonous introduction, the game finally starts doing stuff, though its entertainment value is still up for debate. It's not that bad, but it's also nothing special. The gameplay is essentially a lengthy, grindy action RPG variation of games like Shin Megami Tensei or Pokemon. You'll explore towns and various overworld environments, acquiring and fulfilling fetch quests, battling and training your own recruited monsters called familiars, as well as collecting and crafting a horde of items like desserts to stuff their little faces with until they finally develop diabetes and evolve. However, before any of that, the game takes its sweet time holding your hand before it finally lets you have a familiar, much less obtain more. And before then, you'll have to learn to fight on your own. And when I first tried out combat in this game, I audibly said to myself, I hate this. I genuinely hate this. So it's technically an action RPG, as you can freely move around the battlefield. However, to attack, defend, use magic, items, anything, you'll need to select it from an action wheel of dialogue balloons to send the command the character's way, even though it often feels more like a vague suggestion rather than a command. Moving actually interrupts your commands and usually does more harm than good. You ever played Digimon World for the PS1? It's a lot like that. You never want your combat compared to Digimon World for the PS1. Attack! 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 The real problem is that the game is effectively an action RPG with tremendous input delay. Imagine playing Super Mario Bros. With a 2-second delay. World 1-1 just got impossible. Delays are a big deal. To make matters worse, your AI-controlled partners are awful. It's honestly the worst companion AI I've ever dealt with in a game. Most of my deaths were directly caused by their horrible timing and brain-dead decision-making, getting the entire team killed. It's frustrating, but the fun comes from customizing the 3 familiars you can assign to each of your active party members, and raising those little guys to your liking. Okay, so the actual process is a total drag, but the eventual growth is fun. Yeah, I was excited at first, until I realized what was necessary to level up and evolve my familiars, and strangely enough, it all revolves around the in-game dessert crafting system. Along your journey, you'll find edible items you can craft with or without formulas, in order to create a dessert for your familiars, in order to raise their stats and familiarity. Yeah, I know, a terribly confusing name, but just roll with it. Raising their familiarity and stats is a requirement for evolution, and some evolutions take a tremendously outrageous amount of familiarity or unnatural stat manipulation to achieve, and will also reset your familiar to level 1 upon evolution, by the way. So obviously you want lots of these desserts for your familiars, of which there's a whopping 300 in the game, by the way. And even though you can buy basic beginning food ingredients at an early shop, they're terribly inefficient, and you'll need to craft better desserts with them instead, unless you want to spend literal weeks grinding up your team. No joke, finding those ingredients was the majority of my playtime in this game, even with online guides and this big honkin' thing. Ingredients are precious and rare, and scattered across the map in preset, very particular, out-of-the-way locations, or held by specific monsters that require stealing skills in order to acquire, and only at certain times of the day and under specific circumstances. All that work for your first of 3 carrots you'll need to combine with that pie you bought just to make a sweetie pie, which you'll need to combine with 2 more hunted yogurts in a spring water to craft a see-through pie, which you'll have to combine with 2 babanas and 2 big babanas to finally make a golden pie to feed your familiar and increase their accuracy and familiarity. And you need to grind this continually. It's not a bad system, but the item balancing is way off. At least the rest of the game is grindy busy work for an intolerably slow-paced story with nothing but the drive to collect, grind, rinse, repeat until it's finally over. You're reminding me when I first played it in 2013 with Kim. All I remembered was the awful dessert grinding. So you did forget! I remembered that it sucked. Okay, at least Studio Ghibli is involved with the designs and animating the cutscenes. This has to look outstanding considering that's the entire draw of the game, let's be honest. It's not all the cutscenes. Huh? In fact, it's only a very meager amount of the total cutscenes. It only takes about 18 minutes to watch them all. Seriously? Wow, you paid for this game and I feel cheated for you! And do you remember how well animated cutscenes translate into 3D models in games like Persona? Terribly, terribly. And some of the stuff that they did and didn't choose to animate is just baffling. At least they got to design all the familiars. Studio Ghibli is great at making small fighting monsters? What the heck am I even saying? 300 familiars? Here's how I feel about all of them! Kinda ugly, slightly creepy, inbred abominations with googly eyes. Whew. I mean, that kinda sucks and all, but I'm glad they're so samey you could just sum them all up like that. With one exception! When a Wambat evolves into a wishing Wambat, it can eventually become a Wampire Bat or Captain Whamtastic. Well, that's the only reason to play this game. But aside from the rest of the hokey-looking creatures, we didn't even mention the ugly user interface and heads-up display yet. Oh, you want hokey? Just wait till you hear the... Oliver is a sweet, innocent boy who lives in a happy little village, but it's not a beautiful day in the neighborhood for long as Oliver gets into a little play accident that results in the death of his mother right before his very eyes. It's all fun and games until you kill your mom. Oliver is a little upset by this, sobbing in his room as he's met by a strange, pointy lima bean creature with a lamp booger, Mr. Drippy. Excuse me, what? Mr. Drippy invites Oliver on a fantastical journey into a new magical world where he can be a wizard Pokemon master and save the world from an evil sorcerer. Holy crap, this poor kid needs some serious psychological help. Why is nobody in town the least bit concerned that Oliver is now an orphan delusional lunatic with PTSD-induced psychosis? The story even takes him to and from these 2 worlds many times. So yes, he's a clear victim of mass negligence, among many other things. Let me guess, this never comes up. Not once. Of course not. It's all magical dragons and rainbows from here on. A large part of the story and gameplay is in, and this is gonna sound weird, helping people who are short on emotions like kindness or courage and require you to find other people who exude this particular emotion, magically suck it out of them and store it in your magical locket so you can later find and cram it into the other person. Problem solved. Whoa, wait. No. Aside from that making absolutely no sense, Why aren't the other people we're taking the emotions from affected at all? If it's severe enough to make the afflicted people sickly, brokenhearted, and emotionless, then the same should be happening to whoever we're taking the emotions from. You fail to recognize that this is fairy foo-foo magic. Apparently. So the story itself is about as directionless as an actual Studio Ghibli film. Ouch. Because they're all about the worlds and characters and not the plot itself. Calm down. Careful, man. Anime people are crazy. Anyway, the big bad sorcerer guy Shadar is the main antagonist throughout, and his influence is felt across the game as he does mean things like make people sad. And a lot of those people have counterparts called soulmates that exist in the other world unaware of each other's existence. Which begs the question, where is Oliver's soulmate and why is it definitely going to be Shadar? We should have a spoiler skip just in case some weirdo actually cares about the delusions of a mentally scarred child. It's Shadar, isn't it? It's Shadar. Come on, that was so obvious! Writing isn't that hard, people! To be fair, the entire story seems to be about this timid child learning to cope with the death of his mother. He confronts and overcomes the darker side of himself in order to save a fantasy land of pixies and imagination. Yeah? So who's this white witch the title references? Wasn't Shadar the main villain? Oh yeah, she just kind of shows up at the last second, taking credit for Shadar's naughty deeds in a final boss fight. But who even is she? Oh my god, is she the soulmate of Oliver's mom? Oliver's mom is dead! And he killed her. But then who's her soulmate? Only a handful of characters even get soulmates. And the title villain isn't important enough? Not even to tie it back to his mom to make some point to justify this whole delve into clinical psychosis? No, because his mom is dead. Now forget about her and go be a happy little wizard boy. Get this kid a doctor! I don't recall much of this soundtrack. That's because it's pretty forgettable except when it's screwing things up. Meaning what? I haven't played any other game where I routinely kept wondering why they were playing music that didn't match the tone of the environment at all. What do you mean? Like this track, for example. Where does it sound like it should be played? Somewhere unstable or scary, like a pirate ship or something? This is the magical fairy village. What? Not a battle, or not even anything negative whatsoever. This is a happy little village for fairies. What about this one? This sounds pretty. This track is literally called Sorrow. Okay, so the music's a bit of a mess. Welcome to Disneyland! If you're a huge Studio Ghibli and Shin Megami Tensei fan, then I probably don't need to convince you to give this game a whirl. If you can believe it, Ni no Kuni was the talk of the year back in 2013, just as Elden Ring is now in 2022. Kind of funny how fast it faded into obscurity. Well, probably because it's all talk and no show. Or rather, the show drags like a steamroller pulling a crash test dummy through a pile of jello. Exactly! The positive gamer in me gives the magical Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch a concussive 3 out of 10. This game was rarely fun and was a slog to play. The only reason I even beat the thing was to say that I never had to play it again. Plus, Kim and I kept waiting for it to get better, which clearly never happened. Had it just been a movie instead, I almost certainly would have thought otherwise. The critical gamer in me honestly thinks Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch is better than Bomb's giving it credit, but with a 6 out of 10. It's fine for what it is, but it's still undoubtedly outclassed by its own RPG competition by a wide margin, only set apart by its unique premise and art style, regardless of their delivery. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch in the comments below. But if you're one of those Studio Ghibli nuts who's claiming this game is a masterpiece just because of the cutscenes alone, then you're just playing with yourself. Pretty excited to be booting up the old lunchbox again. You ready for some GameCube Bomb? Bomb! Where is he? Yellow? Bomb, aren't you gonna be in the video this week?
What video?
The new Playing With Myself episode? You even picked out what game we were gonna play.
Oh, right, that one. Mario Sunshine, right?
So where are you?
I'm, gathering research.
Something tells me this is gonna be a tremendously productive excursion.
Absolutely.
When are you coming back?
After I finally satisfy this crazy Tanuki mob boss with dozens of blue coins in exchange for the entire town's fuel source he's been holding hostage while I go to jail for his crimes.
What?
research. Anyway, I'm off to scrub a giant eel's molars with an underwater jetpack. Toodles.
So what the heck am I supposed to play for a week? Pachinko? Welcome back, Plumber Boy. How was Mario Sunshine? Say what? Oh, I beat that game in high school. But you were gone for so long! I was, getting back in the mindset for a proper review. You didn't even replay it? Mario and I both could do with a vacation. You know, you should take breaks every once in a while. Then why didn't you invite me along? This trip doesn't hold up very well to criticism online, as you'll probably won't like it very much. I'll be the judge of that. Let's hit the beach. Long story short, this is Super Mario 64 2. Fine, so the original Mario 64 2 was planned as an N64 disk drive exclusive, pushing the hardware to its limit by rendering 100 Marios simultaneously, but was lacking any major developments for a sequel, so the game was scrapped and eventually repurposed into what we now know as Pikmin. There, are you happy? Anyway, Mario finally got his sequel concept realized in the GameCube's Mario Sunshine with Flood, a robot water-fueled jetpack that could transform into different nozzle heads, allowing Mario to platform in 3D environments in a whole new way. Because Nintendo can't make a sequel without feeling the need to completely reinvent the wheel. Still though, I really like what Flood adds to Mario, as its abilities mostly feel like enhancements of Mario's native jumping abilities. With Flood, Mario can hover mid-air in a sort of double jump, rocket leap high into the sky, and even dash incredibly quickly with various nozzle attachments. But the main squirt nozzle has nothing to do with platforming and drives the main gimmick of the game, spraying water forward to attack enemies and clean up graffiti. Yeah, I know, it's weird, but only without understanding the context of the game. Once you play it, it feels completely natural. Yeah, like how nobody complains or questions why Luigi can't jump in Luigi's Mansion. It just doesn't make sense for that game, even though he's a platforming character. So don't double take too hard when you hear that Mario's cleaning paint graffiti and spraying goop monsters with third-person shooting. Similar to Mario 64, you'll explore a hub world where you'll access various stages and their levels within in order to collect stars, or shine sprites in this case, which slowly open access to new areas and eventually the final boss battle. Yeah, it really is just like Mario 64, but with this new water spraying and jumping tool to help you get the job done. Lucky it's all happening on a tropical island too, since you also need to manage Flood's water supply while navigating the worlds. You can't be too frivolous with spraying, but that measly fishbowl on Mario's back actually holds like hundreds of gallons of water, so don't stress over it. And to the delight of everybody who completed Mario 64, you can finally ride on Yoshi, but with a disturbing twist. Yeah, so they needed Yoshi to work with the water spraying mechanic, so instead of Flood spraying water, Yoshi will projectile vomit fruit juice stockpiled in his stomach until he starves to death and dies. Which can make platforms with intestinal fluid magic to help keep Yoshi from touching the water, because if he ever does, he instantly melts like the Wicked Witch at SeaWorld. There's also many levels where Flood is taken away from you entirely, and Mario will have to traditionally run and jump his way to the Shine Sprite at the end of a series of moving platforms. And nothing against Flood, but these are undoubtedly the most fun levels in the game. Yeah, there's a lot of other weird ones, like where you play roulette with a giant boo that you need to stuff full of hot peppers until he dies. I mean, he was already dead, he's a ghost, but he double dies. And riding this awful instant kill poison river on a degrading lily pad where you need to collect 8 red coins and make it to the end as fast as you can after navigating a series of slow moving boat rides while barely keeping Yoshi alive with rationed fruit for minutes on end just for a single chance. Oh, and carefully rolling a giant ripening watermelon down a mountain between dozens of enemies all trying to destroy it and safely across a zigzagging dock in order to make it to a terribly placed fruit juicer. Or firing rockets and giant balloons while riding a looping roller coaster before failing on the final lap, or collecting dozens of blue coins all over each level with no indicator of how many you found and how many remain in order to score 100% completion? How about all the otherwise ordinary levels that became unintentionally frustrating fights against the finicky camera? We liked this game, right? Or an entirely luck-based pachinko machine level where death is on the table? I liked this game. Who thought that was a good idea? Mario was leaping to the GameCube, so the graphics really showcase what the old lunchbox can do, notably render lots of water and colorful moving paint effects. Isle Delfino is a bright and colorful place that actually brightens as you collect shine sprites. It's a nice visual touch that allows you to visualize the impact your play is having on the world directly. And after collecting enough shine sprites, you can even deck Mario out in shades and the most touristy shirt you've ever seen, and it's amazing and I want one. I really appreciate the bouncy animations and silly jiggle effects when Mario lands and his floppy nose springs back into place. That was a completely innocent comment about jiggle effects. Now get your head out of the gutter. I know you're not expecting much, but this story is so outrageously stupid beyond your wildest expectations. After Mario's daring rescue in 64, he and Princess Peach go on an exclusive vacation together to the beautiful tropical resort Isle Delfino, staying in separate bedrooms, of course, considering this is an entirely agreed upon arrangement between two friends and is in no way a romantic getaway. Get your dirty assumptions out of here. However, right after landing, Mario is arrested and found guilty of covering the entire island in goopy paint. We've only just started and Mario's already been wrongfully arrested in a foreign country for widespread vandalism, all because they mistook him for this guy. Corporate needs you to find the differences between these two pictures. So Mario is ordered to indefinite hours of community service, cleaning the entire island and returning all the lost Shine Sprites as punishment in a totally enforceable form of good old dictatorial justice. This leads him all over the island chasing down the obvious real criminal, all the while collecting shines and blue coins for the Tanuki Mafia. Yeah, there's this raccoon dude who straight up has like half the dying town's Shine Sprites, but the greedy, apathetic trash panda won't hand them over until Mario pays him 10 blue coins a pop for each. Where's the police when you actually need them? So the Shadow Mario kidnaps the princess in broad daylight, right in front of everyone, with the real Mario hot on his heels chasing him down, and he's still not even given a second chance at a hearing with new obvious proof that he's not the culprit. The most reliable thing law enforcement ever does is refuse to admit when they're wrong. So when he's finally cornered, Shadow Mario reveals himself to be Bowser Jr. Bowser has children? Did you forget about the 7 Koopalings from Mario 3? And all of the Koopa Kids from Mario Party? No, I will never stop bringing that up. Bowser gets around. Okay, so what makes this one so special? Well, he claims that he kidnapped Princess Peach because she's his mother. What? No, hold on. Peach's reaction to hearing this is the best part.
Leave my mama alone, you bad man. I won't let you take Mama Peach away. Mama Peach? I'm your mama?
She actually questions this! Like, she's not positive that this turtle monster, the literal son of Bowser, hasn't passed through her royal hooch. Oh my god, Bowser and Peach canonically boned. This is a real Mario game! And in a plot twist that adds up to absolutely nothing, it turns out that Bowser Jr.'s magic paintbrush was made by the same Professor Egad from Luigi's Mansion who developed Flood and the Poltergust. So this all happened because some mad scientist just kinda thought it would be funny. What a dick. So eventually, Mario opens the way to Bowser's floating hot tub in the sky, where he's joined by Princess Peach. Oh god, we just missed the bestiality. And his son, Bowser Jr.
Hey Dad, I really wish you wouldn't nail my mom's toadstool twat while I'm sitting right here next to you in the hot tub.
Shut up, son, and go back to being weirded out that we're actually speaking English this time and not some subtitled gobbledygook.
Still a real Mario game. So Mario crashes the family romp and lands alongside Peach back on Isle Delfino, where Flood has this tragic death scene, even though it's a robot. And not even a minute later, it's shown to be perfectly fine and talking as if nothing ever happened. This story is a hilarious mess. Yeah, it's Mario and nobody's playing it for that to begin with, but it's kind of what makes it so outrageous. It also turns what you thought would be a cozy vacation into endless indentured servitude. Just for the story, right? Just for the story, right? Koji Kondo is a magician as always, but this time with a tropical island vibe. You mean the steel drums? No, dummy, not the drums, and definitely not anything steel. What then? I'm talking about that magical, indescribable instrument in all the tracks. That's the steel drums. Does this sound anything like steel or drums to you? I know they don't look it, but I promise that the sounds you are hearing are coming from instruments called steel drums. I don't know what makes it sound like this, but it is oh so good. Okay, so the internet gives this game a lot of crap, but if you enjoy 3D Mario games, then by not playing this one, you're doing yourself a major disservice. Unless you're a completionist and want to get every single shine and blue coin, then in that case, just pretend it never happened. Yeah, the game's really great and all, but that's a surefire way to make it unfun. Take it from a guy who has 100% of this game twice. Just don't. But wait, why'd you do it twice then? My mental health has nothing to do with this. I didn't ask. Let's wrap this up. The positive gamer in me had a blast with Super Mario Sunshine, giving it a bright 8 out of 10. Floods add a lot to what Mario 64's formula already established, and this game does a great job at fleshing out sharp controls with great level design. With a few exceptions, it's still a great time on its native GameCube or 3D All-Stars port to the Switch. The critical gamer in me is left a little annoyed with Super Mario Sunshine, but not shady enough to go below a 7 out of 10. It's hard to look past this game's occasional oddball levels and missteps, but when you do, its core is a well-crafted, golden 3D platforming experience. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Super Mario Sunshine in the comments below. But if you're hating on Sunshine just because the internet tells you to, then you're just playing with yourself. Why'd I do that? Hamster, where'd all these other games come from on your NES Classic? I put them there. What do you think, Nintendo gave you more than 30 basic NES games to play with? Nah, I fixed it. But you can't do that! You have to buy them first! Oh yeah, let me just run down to the local Toys R Us and check out all their NES and Game Boy games. Oh, and especially all their Japanese exclusives. Like what? Switch seats. How about one of the greatest games ever made that you've probably never even heard of? The Japan-only Game Boy exclusive, Kairo no Tame Nikane wa Naru. Assuming I said that correctly. Caribou tamed a what? Properly translated as, the frog for whom the bell tolls. Good thing YouTube only shows 1% of 1% of your subscribers your videos, so Nintendo never finds out about this. Nintendo, I wouldn't have to resort to emulating your retro games if you'd simply offered a single way for your consumers to purchase them. Anyway, let's talk about that game we didn't pay for. That I'd love to pay for! Nintendo never even translated it! We're actually playing a fan-patched English version. See? It even gets the title wrong by translating it too literally. It's not that I'm avoiding paying for this game. Nintendo simply isn't taking my money for it! Here, just take it! Or would you prefer my untranslated yen instead? The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls is an amalgamation of many creative genre concepts and styles all rolled into one cohesive concoction of interwoven gameplay. So bear with us as we try our best to explain it. And keep in mind, Your Honor, that this is entirely hypothetical conjecture based on what we assume the game is like, have we ever actually gotten the chance to play it at all, and any illusions or assumptions made to our knowledge of playing it are coincidental and or made entirely in jest. Now let's talk about this game that I emulated on my hacked NES Classic, hypothetically. The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls is a top-down puzzle adventure game with 2D puzzle platforming dungeons to navigate and solve in order to progress. Part of your adventure is in avoiding or engaging in combat to grind for nuts. No, not like that. It's your currency. So you can buy new equipment or restock on tools like saws for cutting down bushes and finding secrets and pathways or eggs and apples in order to... Let's cover that part later. First, we need to spend some time explaining the combat since it's super unique and is the predominant factor that changes the top-down or 2D platforming segments into puzzles to solve. Whenever you bump an enemy, you suddenly enter combat, where the two of you automatically take turns duking it out in a dust cloud until someone's HP reaches 0. Though you can interrupt this momentarily to use items or flee, it's not about skill or reflexes, but instead it's all about strategizing the safest path to your objective. Though your stats are shown in the menu, the enemies are always a mystery until you try to defeat them. You can raise your own stats with better gear, as well as finding limited power, speed, and life stones that will permanently increase your stats. Instead of grinding experience and leveling up, you're instead rewarded based on your curiosity and exploration. And once you're strong enough, you'll even one-shot some enemies simply by touching them and they'll be sent hurtling right off the screen. Or you're the one who's too weak and you will black out, waking up in the hospital with just enough HP left to walk, and you'll need to pay your own medical bills in order to refill the rest. But the mechanic flipping everything on its head is your ability to transform into a frog or a snake, which you'll do by various means like jumping into cold water Ranma style, or by eating a happiness fruit or a hot springs egg. Now get ready for some of that classic Nintendo weird. Yeah, you'll need to carefully plan out how to navigate some areas based on what form you currently are. Frogs can swim, jump up high, and gulp up insect enemies to heal, but can't fight very well. Snakes can slither through tight spaces and bite some enemies, turning them into movable blocks, but can't jump well. And of course, a human can equip weapons and armor. Each form can also communicate with creatures of their own kind. Yeah, you'll even use transformations to talk to animals and gather information, as well as figure out how to use their unique strengths and weaknesses in order to overcome and solve your way out of your current predicament. It's hard to describe, but it's really fun, and kind of inventing its own genre to boot. Now all we need is the emergence of all the frog for whom the bell tolls likes. Oh please, yes, but oh lord, don't let it be called that. At the very least, let it have an abbreviation or something like Tuffa-Watabata. Come on, where's the next big indie Tuffa-Watabata? We are talking about the original Game Boy here. And it looks great! The lively animated world feels surprisingly alive and full of color when it's ironically grayscale. What else do you want me to say? That I like the cover art? 'Cause I do. You play as the Prince of Sable, forever at odds with your rival Prince Richard of Custard, who continuously beats you in fencing and other competitions over the years. However, the two princes each catch wind of the Croakian army led by the evil Snake King Delarin, invading the small dessert-inspired Millefwelle Kingdom, where they capture the young princess Tiramisu. The smug Prince Richard immediately sets sail with his army of guards, leaving you behind to find your own way across the sea. He's always been a bully, so it's not a shock, but even though he has the skills and swagger, at least you have your money. Until it all gets stolen and you need to get it all back to even afford a ship to begin chase of the pompous prince. The game routinely depletes your money throughout the adventure, where your cash will reset to a set number to assure the player is exactly as strong or rich as the devs planned. And it's actually really clever. The prince starts out naive of the world, thinking he can just throw money at everything and solve all of his problems. But as time goes on, he grows to learn a lot about the world and its people, and his selfless actions begin to speak louder than words. Bet you weren't expecting character development on the Game Boy, but oh wait, we're not finished yet. After docking in Millefwelle, the prince attempts to catch up with Prince Richard, but instead comes upon a strange town infested with frogs, who all turn out to actually be Prince Richard and his army cursed by the witch Mandola. Mandola tricks the prince into becoming a cursed frog himself, but unwilling to give up, the prince hunts her down to cure him and Prince Richard's crew, but only ends up partially cured, now able to transform between frog and human, and eventually as the frog's predator, the snake. The prince uses his new abilities to travel all over the land, fulfilling all sorts of outrageous quests in order to infiltrate deeper into the Croakian-occupied castle and save the princess, as well as find a way to repair and ring the mysterious spring bell, said to bring about the end of winter and break the curse on the frogs all over the island. The whole game's story is told with chapter-like ebbs and flows, all while retaining this charming childlike innocence mixed with classic Nintendo strangeness, but told like a Saturday morning cartoon or family-friendly Pixar or Studio Ghibli film. Even though you legally can't, I highly recommend you buy and play this game yourself to experience this masterpiece in full, but considering the circumstances, I'll provide a spoiler skip so I can completely fabricate the conclusion of this game's narrative that I definitely didn't play firsthand, where any and all similarities to events or persons living or dead are purely coincidental. Eventually you challenge Dalaran after single-handedly infiltrating his commandeered castle with the help of your new Oddballs friend support to repair the spring bell and end the frog curse, only to find that Princess Tiramisu isn't there. Turns out, Tiramisu escaped from the Croakians and took on a secret disguise, becoming known as the Witch Mandola. In hindsight, the princes realized that she wasn't out to hurt them, but secretly help them overthrow the Croakian army, as well as test the two princes' courage to determine what lengths they would go to on the pretense of rescuing her. And considering how Prince Richard basically slumped in defeat while Prince of Sable never gave up no matter the circumstances, risked everything including his fortune as well as his life repeatedly in order to rescue the supposedly captive princess, it sure says a lot about the two. There's also this incredible foreshadowing moment earlier where the prince awakens from this intense accidental drug trip, just play the game, and believes he sees the princess there rescuing him, only for his illusion to fade, revealing he was actually in front of the witch Mandola, snapping him out of his daze. It's a cute moment made all the more sweet once you learn the truth of the prince's misunderstanding. Regardless of the recent revelations of character, a traditional duel is held between the princes to decide who will wed the princess. But Prince Richard beats you at everything, doesn't he? And he's won every duel you've ever had. Does your newfound strength from your heroic adventures give you the upper hand to finally achieve victory and win the princess's hand? No, that's not what kind of game this is. But the prince isn't going down without a fight. As the two clash back and forth in an incredibly close battle, suddenly you see your sword fly through the air, deflected out of the arena, and the prince takes a knee, accepting his failure. But surprisingly, instead of striking you down and claiming victory, Prince Richard concedes defeat. Richard acknowledges that you intentionally softened your blows out of kindness, preventing you from striking him down, and realizes that after all this time of being such an overbearing jerk, you still consider him to be a true friend, and you couldn't bring yourself to harm him. And in comparison to your warm heart, Prince Richard knows that he can never be your equal. He abruptly leaves the room in tears, accepting that he has truly lost. When's the last time you played a Game Boy game so beautiful it nearly brought you to tears? Hey, he's an inch from death, but the bloody crippled frog boy saves the day and gets the girl. Eggs and wasabi all around! Now give me some of that end credit goodness. I'm gonna turn these apples into my jam. Oh yeah, now that's what I'm talking about. But how about this track where they actually made the sound of crashing waves on the beach? On Game Boy. This game also marks the only instance of my accidentally stumbling on Totaka's hidden song completely by happenstance, and part of me is secretly pleased with this bizarre fact. I know it's just nostalgia bias, but I just love the bippity boops of this little thing. The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls is a magnificent work of art, and is a crucial step forward for video game innovation and creativity, but you can't actually buy it. This is an interesting sell it section, isn't it? Not only was this game the foundation for many of the oddball ideas and crazy mechanics that would later become Link's Awakening, you can even encounter Prince Richard in that game, hidden away in a marshy cabin filled with frogs. Speaking of cameos, the Prince of Sable made several appearances in the Super Smash Bros. Series. He can be obtained as a sticker in Brawl, a trophy on 3DS and Wii U, as well as an assist trophy fighter, which returns in Ultimate alongside two new spirits, the Frog and Snake, which can enhance into the 4-star Prince of Sable. So hopefully from now on, when you see this strange little boy with a cape tussling with Smash characters in an inescapable dust cloud, occasionally transforming into a frog or a snake, you'll better appreciate how impactful his representation is, and remember his charming tale through the forgotten Game Boy gem, and not just roll your eyes going, oh, Japan. Let's be honest, that's what we were all thinking when we first saw this character, right? The positive gamer in me adored the delightful Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls, ringing in a 10 out of 10. This game had me smiling from ear to ear, beginning to end. It's an adorable story with some seriously ingenious gameplay and level design with an incredible soundtrack. The critical gamer in me finds the Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls to be a tremendous achievement, awarding it with a 10 out of 10. This was honestly one of the best games I've ever played, and is a must-play for this system. The only thing holding this game back at all is ironically the very company that created it 30 years ago. Dang! I bet nobody was expecting a double 10 out of a forgotten Japanese exclusive Game Boy game. I sure wasn't. But you should remember that this was Nintendo's R&D 1 and Intelligent Systems title, meaning that this game is basically a Mario Bros, Zelda, or Metroid that never got a chance to grow. It's kinda sad, but at the very least, I'm glad that it still exists at all. So what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate the Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls in the comments below. For all those of you who actually played the game. But if you're sleeping on all the amazing Game Boy titles like this one, just because you don't think that any of them could possibly be worth your time, then you're just playing with yourself. Bibbidi boop. Babushka! Did you just shoot my door? Come on, check it out, hamster. I'm all wobbly now. Yes, I can see that you're a pro at handling your Wii, but can you stop that? You're getting me nauseous. Come on, check out what happens when I shoot. I can make weird faces in the blast reflections like boo. Watch where you're pointing that thing. Babushka! I want to play some Metroid, hamster. I can see that. So we finally get around to reviewing Metroid Prime 3 right after I finish redecorating and moving my giant poster? Surprisingly enough, this was the first Metroid game I played at launch, and with a strategy guide to boot. I was a bit of a wuss back then. This was my first game poster ever, and it was for a game that I really loved. It's always been displayed in one way or another since 2007, just not from this particular camera angle. Fun fact, I actually started uploading YouTube videos about games in 2007. And it was even there too, just a little off camera. So even the crazy Metroid guy was once an uninformed noob, as I believe the children these days are saying. Give me a break, I was playing the NES game. Now look at the poster! It's just Metroid Prime again. But on the Wii! Yeah, that's not even the half of it. And this ironically being my first Prime game, these key differences sailed clean over my head. Like how this is by far the most linear of the entire Prime series, resulting in it playing a little less Metroid and a little more Dead Space. And don't forget the new pointer controls adding a ton to the first-person style, but also coming along its typical quirks like awkward, unnecessary motions to activate thrusters, pull and twist energy cells, and solder power lines, activate touchscreens. Okay, yeah, it's overused. But let's remember all the cool, different things about this Prime, like how you have multiple planets to explore for the first time in the series. But the areas themselves are no bigger than last time, so actually it's just a glorified loading screen for flavor. Instead of elevators, you have to visit your ship to swap environments. Though this finally adds some function to your ship, it kind of destroys the multi-linking area thing that defines the genre. But you can also utilize your ship in the field with the new command visor, letting you grapple away hazards and tools or call upon a freaking flyby airstrike, which gets criminally underutilized to the extent that finding gunship missile expansions is more of a disappointment than anything. Your new plasma and nova beams simply stack now, opening new doors and buffing your firepower. Yeah, beam swapping was kind of integral to Prime 1 and 2, but just look at the Wiimote! It wasn't possible! Okay, so the left and right on the D-pad weren't used, but still! At least one of the rare issues with Primes 1 and 2 gets remedied in 3. Instead of demanding that the player hunts down all of the artifacts or comparable stand-in items in order to beat the game, they instead need to collect a sufficient amount of the new energy cells needed to power doors in a final area in order to proceed. You can actually skip picking up a good number of them, and the rest are generally obvious pickups along your journey. Yeah, so now the hard part is finagling the stupid Wiimote to line up properly just so you can twist it, pull it, and bop it out of place. No kidding. This is the hard part, and it's not even supposed to be. Wii jank aside, Retro Studios also decided to integrate a new suit for Samus called the PED suit, which contains and restrains her new phase-on corruption, while also allowing her to enter the new hyper mode. Well, it's sorta new. I mean, it was technically the final boss encounter of Prime 1's fight, but whatever. Samus can expend one energy tank while wearing the PED suit to basically become a temporary OP phase-on fueled killing machine, even getting upgrades along the way further powering out this mode even more, like the Hyper Ball, Hyper Missile, and Hyper Grapple. Of all things. At first I was wary of losing an entire energy tank just for some extra power, but after enough use I saw how utterly busted hyper mode is, annihilating enemies and bosses so much faster and safer than without, that the trade-off tends to end up saving you more HP, if not netting it all back again from enemy drops. The best defense is an unstoppable Chernobyl laser? Yeah, let's just go with that. The Wii wasn't much of a graphical jump from the GameCube, but Prime 3 still manages to stand out like a PS3 game running on inferior hardware. I especially love how the PED suit will become more and more corrupted as time goes on. The same can also be said for Samus's facial reflections as she slowly distorts into a glowing, veiny freak show. I especially enjoy the menus and HUD updates for the Wii, even though the Wiimote basically makes lock-on a pointless feature since your aim is now completely up to you to steadily hold your hand for minutes on end as you button mash, and just trying to lock helps you face the general direction you want to fire, not actually aim there. And did we mention that hyper mode looks incredible? It's like the devs decided that this minor role it had in the first game just wasn't enough, so they went full-on phase-on crazy this time, for better or worse. He didn't even mention his poster. I have a poster! Samus, alongside 3 other bounty hunters, is tasked by the Galactic Federation to deliver vaccines to their several recently infected and promptly deactivated Aurora units, which are effectively massive brain-like AI biocomputers. I can't possibly see how this will all go wrong. When a sudden space pirate attack followed by the unlikely return of Dark Samus causes the 4 hunters to become infected with Phazon, Samus awakens a month later in the PED suit, containing and allowing control of her Phazon corruption. She's also immediately tasked with finding the other 3 hunters who have all mysteriously gone rogue after weeks of maintained corruption. I sure hope our friends are okay and not out to kill us. Samus then planet hops her way through many space pirate battles, Phazon-infected creatures, and even an escort mission on her journey to— It sure would be bad if Ridley showed up again. Did you see a body in Prime 1? No. So Meta Ridley shows up multiple times, culminating in him becoming rebuilt as Omega Ridley. You even fight him while falling down an elevator shaft at one point, and it's amazing. Well, except for the actual fight itself, it's kind of irritating to be honest. So how about those obvious Aurora units? Oh, fine. You purge their corruption like an overworked, acne-ridden Geek Squad employee and call it a day. Wait, really? No fight? What about the other hunters? Oh yeah, they totally try to kill you while somehow being possessed by Dark Samus. Okay. Yeah, this Phazon is some potent stuff, which makes it all the more worrying how Samus will even survive her exposure, especially how she keeps filling her helmet with the blue goop and motorboating it until she vomits in hyper mode. So Samus goes to each planet to locate and destroy the massive Leviathan seeds that crash landed on each and infected the planets, but each one is being guarded by a powerful boss, like, don't mind the big glowy red dots, man, and I sure hope you're colorblind, Guardian. Left unchecked, these would become Talon 4 incidents all over again, so that's pretty cool. But it's sure a letdown that you kill them all with the exact same cutscene that you even prompt with the same button each time, just to continue the cutscene. Oh. Am I gonna do it? I can do this all day, pal. Come on, that cutscene's really cool. Oh, I know, I'm just a musty old curmudgeon. So eventually, this leads Samus to the planet Phase, the source of the corruption, obviously, where she defeats Dark Samus as well as a fully corrupted Aurora unit. Mother brain fight! I knew it! Totally juked me out there for a while, game. All right, Captain Obvious, what's gonna happen next? The entire planet explodes after an ominous countdown? Of course. How many planets has Samus just casually detonated now? So far, 5. Well, another one bites the dust, disintegrating all traces of Phazon in the galaxy with it, including Dark Samus, as well as eliminating Samus's corruption completely. Somehow. I don't know, it's space magic or something. And if you get 100% item completion, then you get a post-credit scene showing Samus's ship flying away into the stars, secretly being pursued by Sylex's ship. Who's Sylux? You remember? Metroid Prime Hunters. The janky DS game, yeah. He's one of the 6 or so hunters you fight in that game and fights with a super annoying electric gun. He didn't even appear at all in the main Prime games, and to be honest, his role is pretty minor in Hunters to say the least. Come on now, that right there is some Chain of Memories bullshit. Considering the last 2 soundtracks were absolute bangers, isn't Retro Studios' hot streak due to fizzle out soon? The main theme even has this drastic change of tone. It's dark, creepy, and utilizes a chorus, giving it this super unsettling vibe. But is it any good? Yeah, it's amazing, I love it. Almost had you go in there for a second, didn't we? Though Prime 1 and 2 are both arguably better Metroid games, Corruption is still one of the best games on the Wii. Think about it. This controller made for awkward Mario, abysmal Zelda, and dozens of other quirky titles just trying to desperately accommodate this wonky contraption. But when it came to Metroid Prime, the transition actually strengthened the game so well that they ended up re-releasing the entire trilogy with the new Wii controls. Name another franchise that could say the same when it went for a ride on Nintendo's big white Wii. And no, the Wii will never not be a funny name. The positive gamer in me had a blast with Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, giving it a well-earned 9 out of 10. Sure, it's more linear than the first 2, but the set pieces and cinematics more than make up for it, resulting in another outstanding Retro Studio success. Now where's that 4th one I pre-ordered back in 2017? The critical gamer in me sees the few faults in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption in hindsight, but they aren't faulty enough for me to go below an 8 out of 10. The game is still really solid and holds up surprisingly well even today. But what do you think? Let us know how your positive and critical sides rate Metroid Prime 3 Corruption in the comments below. But if you can't loosen up and just accept that sometimes the motion is gonna get hard to get a nice firm grip on your Wii, I have a poster! Then you're just playing with yourself! Yeah?